Trying to find sheets. Ay. Oh, mate. What the hell have I done with the sheet? Anyway, I'll print them 1 sec. Evening. Excel. Let's crunch some numbers. Just want to view these files later. Sounds good to me. I'll literally be watching these Rosehill races nearly for the first time, so. Why have you gone to YouTube, Callum? And why is your name? What's your name? Scoop. Whoa. Anyone got a pen? Give me a pen. Pen. A little pen. Oh, g'day, mate. Any roughies, get up. No, not on my computer. You need to be on your computer for? It's a kick. It's an app. Genuine heavy track, Rosehill. Didn't get any rain during the day. Whoa, what do we got? Around. So the shoot was slower than around the band. So, hey mate, are you profitable without any promotions, etc.? Curious what kind of RO a hobbyist pro like yourself make. I don't get any promotions. Very, very few. I'm not sure, to be honest. Profitable, yes. It's the only way I eat, but I don't really know. I don't track it as much as I should. All right, Rosehill. We've got sometimes. I think John is a hobbyist. Maybe 40 years ago when I was 2. I'm not a high turnover person though, so I would expect my return to, has to be higher than others who turn over a lot more and bet a lot more races. Which is probably, I don't know, who's probably going to be affected more now these days with a higher market percentage than a selective person or a high turnover person? It's probably an interesting question. I was talking with someone today. They reckon there's not more than 10, like high people that have high impact on the market left. So whether that be syndicates or individuals, there's not many more than 10 left. It's pretty crazy. If that's true, that's people who sort of have a good inside lane with Betfair and other places. I don't know what the number was at its peak, but it was higher than 10. All right, lanes. Oh, we didn't get the lanes yet. I did look, just watching these races. As I said, I haven't had a good look at them yet. I was down in Melbourne away from home. You see, I don't have a pen. And didn't get to look at these races too carefully on the day. Haven't had a chance trying to do the sort of 2 meetings today. And yesterday was a bit of a nightmare getting home. So looking at it together pretty much. It did look like the inside was the place to be, which is weird. Obviously 6 metre rail at Rosehill can be inside, but not when it's heavy. So I thought they'd get to the middle. And the first race kind of looked like they did, but that was more tempo related. And by the end of the day, it looked like back towards the inside was much more beneficial. Just started tuning in, not familiar with background. Yeah, that's cool, but get 14. I just, the thing, I think all those sort of figures are misleading, as in return on investment. Over time you need to be profitable, obviously, and things kind of tend to level out, but there's so many changes in the marketplace and the way things are operating these days. Not liquidation. What's the word I'm looking for? How am I going? There's no depth to the market, so it's just harder to win larger volumes. You've got to be very careful the way you do things, and then sort of not overcommit like you could previously, because it's just harder to win. Yeah, liquidity. I was close. Liquidation. I was close. Yeah. It's a good question. Remind me about it later, and I'll get through this review and then have a better think about it. Bookies are the worst. Well, they're not too good with their prices. They just put up 130 plus, so it's pretty hard not to be. And then don't bet anyone, and sort of sharper people knock it into shape. And no, there's no offence, mate. Sorry if I missed that too. No offence. But, things are changing. Products aren't available like they used to be. Anyway, we'll get into this. So, yeah, I think the inside was an advantage. Hard to come from sort of back wide and circle unless you had a bit of a tempo advantage to help you do so. So, let's go. This is obviously not a very exciting meeting. Slope bet 100% markets. I tell you that I've actually, trying to look into a couple of corporate entities are really, they're all battling, aren't they? See Foxcatcher, which is, run by some pretty smart people. They're Cactus now. They've been bought out by PointsBet, or they've moved to PointsBet or Amalgamated, or whatever the hell they've done. And, that's probably sharper punting minds behind it. And there's a lot falling over. I think there's a lot that are trading from positions that are not exactly ideal currently. I honestly think we're going to be left, especially with a couple of tightening of the screws a little bit on taxation on these smaller guys. We'll probably be left with not too many bookies in the next 12 to 18 months. And if this tax goes up in New South Wales like it looks like it will, we might be getting a 12 to 15% commission rate at Betfair. So what's that going to do to liquidity? It'll be diabolical. All right, so first race, 2-year-olds, 1,400. Actually, visually, I didn't think they went as fast as they did here, and they went just way too quick. They've gone out sort of 10 above to the 800, slightly above that to the 600, then come home really slow. So it makes sense why Swift Falcon ran on. Had really solid form, Swift Falcon, and things have gone its way here, so it makes sense. I agree with that, Paul. Any product should be available to all clients. If they don't want to do that, there has to be a compromise. So, for argument's sake, I'll go off topic before I get into this race. say exotics, they don't want to bet us quaddies or cornellas or trifectas, then they should be forced. Any product they don't want to bet everyone a limit, they should be forced to put them all back. So either not have it or forced to put them all back for commission or something, for the sake of the industry, not just for us, just to bet, people who aren't limited. So like in that instance, quite say it's all exotics have to go back and they get a 10% commission or 12% commission or whatever, that's fine. And they make their 10 or 12, it's probably less than what they're making now, but at least they're betting everybody and it's to the benefit of the industry. Whereas now, like it's impossible to get a Cornella trifecta, whatever you want, a quadrilla, early quaddie, treble, whatever, you just can't have them. And if you want to bet into the tote pools, unless it's a feature day or whatever, you're literally betting against yourself half the time. So it's to the detriment of the industry, it's to the detriment of turnover, the way they're handling it. So, those things are just completely forgotten by NBLs. And I just don't think it's really helping anybody. So, and obviously, I whinge about Betfair, but why they're being handled and treated the way they are is just insanity to me. That it should be the place where everyone can play, bookmakers and everyone at the least commission rate possible. It's literally an exchange. It's you versus me. It's whoever versus whoever, and that should be the place where it should feed the whole industry. They don't understand it's a tipping service literally for everybody when it's at its best. Movement of money is triggers money movement everywhere. It puts pressure on corporates to bet better prices and be more competitive with pricing, not just bonuses and promotions. So, it's pretty crazy that it's not given an advantage rather than handicapped heavily the way it is. All right, so Sovereign Hill goes straight to the front from the outside. As I said, goes way too fast. All these horses up on speed are working too hard. Swift Falcon, and here's the difference. From outside draws, Jay's not super positive by any mistake, but he does try and hold a spot. And he ends up back in the field, but it's because the horses are running away from him. So rather than him looking over his shoulder, dragging it out, looking for cover in a slow run race, he's actually sort of tried to be somewhat positive. Here he's probably neutral, but these horses are running away from him and going too fast, and that's what causes him to settle back towards the rear. So, it's worked out well for him, don't get me wrong, but I'd rather see this sort of ride than jump, drag, and whatever. But they're going too quick. You can see the horses back in, towards the end of the field or even scrubbed along at this point. A Graceful Artist was actually a good run last start, and he was quite heavily pressured early and then gets quite keen. So I thought his run was okay, but he is in that inside section, which, as we said, sort of towards the end of the day, ended up being pretty good. Hopefully BetMakers falls over. It could fall over, apparently. Rank and file punters are, I believe, the Betfair's biggest falling down, and I think something like what the kick streams and stuff that I do, if you could definitely concentrate if you could try and become a little bit more mainstream on educating people, literally using that sort of platform, whether it's me or anyone, doesn't matter, Wolf Den, whoever you like, getting, sort of coordinating with Betfair to really demonstrate firsthand how easy it is to use. But the problem is, it's just, when what you want to be able to do is say, look, you're getting $6 this year, and it's $4.80 with all the bookies, less commission, it's $5.50. It always doesn't work out that way, but that's why you're going to use it. Whereas at the moment, if you want to have a decent bet on it, I'm not saying a lot of money, you're shifting a market with tiny amount of money. It's so dried up of liquidity that it's hard to even demonstrate it with doing it justice. It looks so bad. All right, so Graceful Artist up the inside. Sovereign Hill runs third. Graceful Artist runs second behind the leader. Swift Falcon rounds them up down the outside. Good Luck to Me striding to second, and a gap back to Shan. Where was Good Luck to Me? So Good Luck to Me was coming off a decent run at Kembla on debut, behind leader, pretty much had its chance. Good Luck to Me back to Shan. Faladas making ground on the rails, but Sovereign Hill going well. Good Luck to Me under the pump. So I wouldn't be surprised if they put Swift Falcon away after this. I can't imagine there's too many more targets for it, and I think that was its third run in its first prep. It's a horse that can certainly come back next time in. And, you know, whilst it's pace assisted here, you know, these horses are all on the fence. So leader fence, three back the fence, four back the fence, I think, in run. So four back the fence, three back the fence, and obviously fence in run was pretty good. So this horse has jumped from a wide draw, circled him, even though it was pace assisted. I think it's a pretty solid win and a pretty nice horse. Its form was quite good leading into this unlucky. Certainly a nice enough horse physically that can progress to next preparation and make a horse. The second horse has gone well, I think. It's close to a win. They're probably the main two. And the Johnny Thompson horse that sort of snuck up the inside. Don't know a lot about it. So it was jumping from 11 to 1400, raced back in the field, and then sort of snuck home up the inside. So, you know, there's no knock on hit. Probably want to see it again because it is in the right part. It was 200 to 1 there. Pace assisted from back in the field up the right part of the track. So a little bit of a bit of grey up about this horse. What you would love to be able to do, and sort of jumping back and forth between the two topics here at the moment with Betfair, is integrate it nicely into a real, like a bookmaking site, wouldn't you? Like, it's just obviously Sportsbet have the connection there, but at the moment they don't have control of it, and I assume it's just simply due to their clash of their products that they don't want to integrate the one into the other. But you know, ideally that's what it would be. You know, on a back lay, tote, whatever, and maybe it would replace fixed odds or something. It's interesting. Well, weekend mug punters, like laying is something that they probably would be interested in if they understood how easy it was. And I agree, it is just a little bit. The website itself hasn't been improved in 20 years. The app's much better than it used to be. There's some good features on it now that weren't there not that long ago. So the app's progressing, but it still is a little bit tricky for the... Eggy, they do. Like, I understand that the Australian operation isn't associated with Sportsbet. Well, they've got I think they've sold the rights to it, haven't they? The parent company owns it, don't they? I think they're talking about taking it back. It's up soon, I think. Betfair app's absolute arse. It's 1,000 times better than it used to be. Yeah, the problem with, like you're saying, is liquidity. You know, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, I don't know how long ago it dried up, but liquidity wasn't an issue for most punters. So, especially if you're not price sensitive. So if you wanted to lay one to lose 100 or 200, it was pretty easy to do. Now that's even difficult at times, even like the last 3 minutes. In-play bettings should be the betting in play on Australian racing or any racing should be the biggest thing in the world. Yeah, like if you had a fast feed that kept everyone on a significantly more level playing field than it is currently. You know, you got difference in feed in 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 seconds sometimes. So the person on track's just got such an advantage, whether it be 10 to 40 lengths over who it is. So, you know, if they worked on their feeds and worked out the taxation, in-play betting would be incredible because it's just a pure form of betting. It's awesome. It's like, you know, like tennis or whatever. Like the people that are at an advantage should be the ones who can read the race, tempo, things of how they're travelling in run, not the people that are sitting on the winning post just out pressing somebody. Yeah, and that's the problem. Yeah, that's good to hear. I mean, I don't watch enough of it. It's just I just get so frustrated. Unless the horse is in the market, it just seems insane. Like, if you want to back a 10 to 1 chance in the run, good luck, you know, and sometimes you get sent, sometimes you don't. So this is like what we were talking about before. Consistency is the key to everything, isn't it, in racing? Like, you can't, if the way you bet is the way you bet, and you've got to be able to get on because, you know, Murphy's Law says the 6 out of the 10 that you get on, you know, they're going to be the ones that get beat or whatever. Like, it's just so hard to bet into markets that aren't stable because you just don't know what you can do. Like, it's like having 10,000 a bet, 10,000 a bet, then you have 1,000 on the next one, 10,000 on the next. It's not going to work. Yeah, it's an Australian app. It's weird. So I don't even understand why their feed. Why is the app so much faster than the desktop feed? Is there a reason for it? Not really sure. Actually, I haven't looked at the steward's report. I'll do that right now. He's so hard to catch, Anthony Cummings, like especially with these sort of promising horses. Wins first up off a break, looks like a world beater, then comes up short, and it's one of those horses you didn't really want to back it, but you didn't want to be against it. Swift Falcon hampered, near under pressure. Conrad, Navy Blood, scratched the barriers. I didn't even know that. There you go. Zuccarino was permitted to ride the gelding overweight. Geez, he's getting away with a lot of these things. Flight Crew approaching the turn. 15, Glenbow, 1 out of 5 lane. Simo Star's got a barrier trial again. Yeah, okay, so anyway, this first race, I think this horse can be followed next prep. With Falcon, I think he'll improve as a horse. Graceful Artist, I think's not too deep into this prep, is it? Oh, it is too deep into this prep, is it? So it's had that's its fourth run for the prep too. Yeah, nice enough horse. I think it's probably close enough to the end of it too. So I don't think this form's going to really do a lot for you this prep, but 1 and 2 can certainly win races next time in. Sovereign Hill's probably close to its peak and probably ready for a break too. Just this winter racing, it's just so brutal. It's just been so tough on so many horses, especially these 2-year-olds. So hard to work out when they're going to be on or off because no one really knows. They've been forced to race on these heavy tracks and sort of just you've got to guess whether they're going to show their best or not. But it went way too quick on it here, Sovereign Hill, up to 1,400. So a forgivable run, sort of fastest of the 8, 6, 4, 2 of the day. Just went too quick. Good luck to me, chase the fast tempo, outside leader, and 4 of the first 5 in the run have finished at the back. And Graceful Artist sat behind them and 3 back the inside. Sovereign Hill led. So there's some merit there in Sovereign Hill's run. Kevin Howard's old combat system for pros to get the liquidity set for mugs on Wednesdays. Yeah, it's literally all about commission. You could regenerate Betfair in a minute just by restructuring the taxation. It's literally that's all it is. If you brought the commission rates back to sort of 3% or something like that, it's overnight. It'll be back to what it was. Because there'll be people willing to seed it and actually play. Like if you're down to whatever it is now, 5 or 7 or whatever the lowest commission rate is, it's just tough and there's no money there. And if you're wanting to have a decent bet, you're literally affecting the whole market instantly. It's just literally crazy. People just must not have a clue what they're doing, the guys in control, because everything has such a everything they're doing is shrinking the whole industry. It's just shrinking everything. Every decision they make further shrinks everything, pushes more people away. I don't understand why that would ever be a good thing. I understand that they don't think winning punters exist or they're a useful part of the community. Don't understand that. People that break square, they don't have any sort of favourable treatment or thoughts on them either. But they're the ones who are sustainable for the whole industry. Pushed away at will. All right, race 2. What have we got here? Some interesting sort of sections between the 8 and the 2. Just looking at them briefly. Time overall is not great. Tempo overall slightly above average, but it's not as if they've gone crazy hard. But again, this is from that slower section. So this is from the chute. They go out a couple of lengths above to the 8 and the 6. Slow down, sort of 4 below coming home. So there's not a lot of merit in the last 600. And the winner sort of gets that right part again up the inside, which, again, I didn't think would be the right place. So I think it does. Or have I got the wrong horse here? Flight Crew and Flight in flight. I might have mixed them up, but I actually don't know if I've even seen this race. Hope deserves a strain of the year.
Late scratching here. No.
I've never seen a site that's worse than that bookie choice site. I've never seen a site worse. They should not be up. They should not be up. So many people with complaints. Anyone who's back to winner, they're already bringing in the show me your life story. We think you're a bot. We think you're this. We think you're that. They're not paying people out. They're not betting on half the field in the lead up to the race. You can't back half the runners. I think they're doing themselves a disservice having the site up as quick as it is. It obviously doesn't work. So if I was them, I'd be shutting it down and starting again, because the concept in theory is okay, but it has to be polished. Right, so the leader, Glenn Bauer, who is the favourite, pulls up lane. So that takes further merit away from the race in general. It started $4.80, so it was a bit soft. The winner's the horse behind it, who's a little bit keen.
A length and a half, So Good, So Cool from Sumo Star, Bluff and Bluster. Navy Blood was a late scratching at the gate. So the favourite holds the front, Glenn Bauer. J Ford looking for an early double. Leads by a length on Chris.
Yeah, I know people who tried to deposit, took it 4 days to get in there.
Tugging along. Then came Cecilia from Rush Hour. Sabrenko gets going. Zuccarino tries to go with it.
So they don't look like they're overdoing it here, and I think that's sort of a sign that that track is just a little bit heavy in the straight compared to the outside. That back section was a little bit quicker. Yeah, so the winner does get to the inside and gets to the right part. I'd be really concerned over this form. This is Rush Hour in behind. So where was it in run? I think it was 3 back the fence, was it? It was. So again, at this stage, Kryptonite runs third, winner behind the leader, second horse, 3 back the inside, and where's Zuccarino?
So Good, So Cool moves up wide.
I can't see a horse. I thought Zuccarino that's Bluff and Bluster out the back, so I don't know where Zuccarino is. Oh, it's outside, so it's in the 1-1. So winner, second horse, fourth horse, third horse. So they're all sort of up towards the inside, and then the leader pulls up lane. The time overall is not great. These horses made some... So Good, So Cool actually made a decent sprint and then does flounder late when it gets out to that outside section. So I'd be forgiving of it. Zuccarino gets checked out of the way there. He got checked a few times, Zuccarino, so it's not a bad effort to run fourth.
Rush Hour went up to join Cripps tonight. Flight Crew still there on the rails. It's Rush Hour with the head in front. Flight Crew going to second. It's Rush Hour. Flight Crew is charging up the inside.
You can see how big an advantage this inside was. Like Bluff and Bluster was dead set doing nothing. Back here doing absolutely nothing, rolls back to the inside and flashes home. So, yeah, I'd be really wary of any horse that was hard fence here. It looks like it was a significant advantage, and certainly when being too positive towards anything, I'd much rather be looking for horses that are out in this section here than ones back to the inside. But look at Bluff and Bluster dead set. Looks like it sprouts late and it's not really doing anything. Oh yeah, Zuccarino's had plenty of chances. So Good, So Cool made a bit of a dash at them and peaked. Maybe it was only second up, I think. So maybe next start it's not too bad. I wouldn't be too disappointed in the run of Cripps tonight. It was only second up as well and set outside leader on the solid tempo, so it was okay. I'd be very wary of the winner next time out. It's likely to be a pretty good negative target to sort of bet around, I would say, unless it finds the right race, ideally again. Rush Hour had that nice run as well. I don't have a huge opinion of it either. So I think this race overall's pretty scary. You've got Sumo Stars failed as a $7 chance. Glenn Bauer's pulled up lane as a $4.80 chance. Time overall's not good. And the final sections are not good. And the winner and the second horse and the fifth horse have all had that inside run. So yeah, I'd much rather be probably negative about this race and horses in it than looking for too many positive targets. Maybe being forgiving of So Good, So Cool because it's finished 6th anyway and was in the wrong part of the track. Yeah, I agree with that, Paul. That's as good as Zuccarino can go. And even though it was sort of checked and held up and whatever, it might have finished the length closer, but it's still as good as it could have gone. Yeah, and in what Cullen said, right, he probably, you know, could have run third maybe, but that would have been it. That would have been its Christmas present. All right, this horse is a nice horse. Know Thyself. Pre-race, it was probably all about whether it handled the conditions, and again, I sort of wasn't across things as much as I should have been personally, just because I was again away from home, and I didn't really get to watch any replays or anything while they were running. But yeah, certainly once this inside section looked as good as it did, which was hidden to me because of the way Swift Falcon came down the outside, and I wasn't aware that tempo was so strong. Yeah, it was basically something had to go wrong or not handle the track for this horse to win, and it's 1-1 well. Fast tempo, strong tempo, and again, you know, they've come home below standard, but fast overall time off fast tempo, and genuinely sort of 7 lengths above, 6 lengths above the 600, 2 lengths below coming home. The winners come home still pretty good. So I think this horse is genuinely a talented horse, whether they sell it or whether they try and win country championships or, you know, keep it fresh and run it in something like the Kosciuszko, I'm not sure. But I think it's far more a country championships horse than a Kosciuszko horse. It's a real wind-up, go through your gears horse. Shehab was a bit of a tragedy. Don't think it would have ever got near the winner, but would have been a tragedy beat for second if it didn't. It come from back in the field, but again finds the inside section and rails up late. Still runs the 8 fastest last 200 of the day, which is a pretty good effort off the back of a strong tempo. So have a look.
This is race 3. The lights on and we're good to go. Know Thyself, drawn the fence, the favourite.
Where you guys better? I bet mainly New South Wales, mainly.
Not contesting the lead though.
But I think most guys in here sort of have a look everywhere, pretty much. Check out Marsting Barrier 11 last race, Hawkesbury. Do buy something. Looks like Crockett has the right race. I will, mate. See you later.
Let me entertain you, not far away. McKeon pushing through and testing the lead though.
So this is a very hollow race. Shehab's a good wet tracker, been going okay. The rest of them were very steady. So, you know, you expect this horse to put a... Well, Silver Halo was probably the other horse with a bit of upside. Invasive Dreams has been going okay. The rest didn't really have great setup. So, Gate 1 and where he's found a position in the run, you expect him to run very well.
Invasive Dreams, Barcelona Express. Over on the inside, as they race down the side of the course, he's a copy boy. Wider out final comment.
I know, 3219, 3229. That sounds like an interesting number. I think it's a long way from home.
Three wide path on the outside of McKeon, and the favourite poised over on the rails, Know Thyself. Further back to Silver Halo, Royal Teens as they straighten up now. Ensign Parker just rolled off the fence there. Gave an inside run to the favourite, Know Thyself.
So, like, this is an absolute dream situation for the winner. Shehab back here, so you can tell like he sort of Josh got chopped out, and I don't think it changed the result, obviously, but sort of gets lost around the bend and forced back and ends up getting that inside run, which is, you know, the place to be. You see, he doesn't accelerate quick, even though he's got a couple of lengths on those horses. He doesn't get through his gears until sort of now, which is what I like this in a horse.
And this is going to be a crushing victory here on the highway. Best strike rate, the trainers in the state of New South Wales.
And pricks his ears on the line, so he's a nice horse. He looks like he's doing it all on raw ability at the moment. He definitely looks like he's got good upside. You know, set of blinkers maybe. Will be interesting in time. Probably not this prep. They'll probably put him out to a mile or something. I'm not sure what they'll do. What have we got coming up? 2 weeks. There's a highway 1500, which looks ideal, doesn't it? So 14 straight up to 15. He'll probably go there because it's just such a nice class 3. 1500 looks a perfect stepping stone. Probably start $1.60 and be hard to beat. Yeah, I'm with you, Laney. I don't think he really loved the wet, but he was in the right spot. You know, like he was towards that inside section, which probably helped. And probably just took him a little bit longer to get through his gears. He's run home, you know, 8th fastest last 8. Shehab's run home 8th fastest last 200. It's run home the 11th. So again, good sign that it's quickened up, sort of slowly, but like ran the fastest last 8 and 6 in the race, but slowly built through its gears, got faster and faster through the line, which is what you want to see from a rankings perspective. But yeah, pretty obvious. Everyone in the world will find it. Second horse, everyone will find it, and it was probably flattered, if anything, because of the conditions in getting that inside draw. I don't think there's too much there. So the others beaten 10 and 11. You got to be forgiving. Anything that was sort of coming from wide in the track, and the form will hold up. This is definitely a very, very good horse for a highway. You've sort of got to be forgiving of most runners if they get back to a sort of good track at some point. She's always a good horse. A girl's best friend. Come down to the wrong part of the track, I would say. So she's done a good job. A very, very fit horse. Handles the conditions. Sort of said this, a pretty strong highway. So the form can hold up, but I don't think they'll get near this horse. Okay, 2,000 metre benchmark 78. They go way too hard, or they go too hard the first half here. They get to the 800 metres, 6 lengths above. They slow it off up to the 6, only a length and a half above by the time they get to the 6, and then come home sort of even time from there. Time overall's okay. This winner was interesting. I thought so hard to line these horses up. Its run first up I thought was very good. And it tackled this race only second up, I believe. It was. So it was first up off the 203-day break where it's 50s, but ran home quite well there. Behind Franz Joseph, Captain Furai in a controlled tempo. 1,500 jumped straight to 2,000. Yet no money for it. It's just really hard to catch these horses. And plenty of merit in this horse's win. Some really good closing sections, really strong to the line. Obviously another obvious winner, four-length winner. And whilst there were a couple that failed in the race, I definitely don't think it took away from the strength of the race. I think Gulf of Mexico is quite a decent horse. Perfect play. Definitely both Saturday horses. Kuradar as well. So I think the depth is there to this form. So the winner's, one that's right on the up. It's only had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 starts. 2 for Waller. Twice a winner in New Zealand over a mile. And he's already stretched him to 2,000 second up on a heavy track. So this horse has definitely got good upside. Strathray.
Was even money when carrying 76 kilos, winning on the beach in Ireland. Is 21.
Typical Paul Massara type. Yeah, it's weird that they wing skinnies, I think they said.
Off the inside, Strathray
Really?
With Carrera. Perfect play sent forward, and Vega Magnifico as well.
It's amazing they've got such a bad strike rate in comparison to away from highways that they do. And I think they've started to even it up a little bit in recent times, but they couldn't train him for highway winner for a long time.
Has taken a spot down on the rails. Well back then is Full Field from Mars a bit, and Lyrical Gangsters last of all. Vega Magnifico, the blinkers on a bit sharper today, and races to the lead, out by a length and a half. Gulf of Mexico is doing...
The Gulf of Mexico is outside lead, is working quite hard in the fastest part of the race. No change of tactics, I don't believe, for Vega Magnifico, and up he goes straight to the front. These change of tactics are just getting out of hand, as in they just don't care. They don't make the steward's report. No one asks any questions. So I don't know why they don't just abolish the goddamn rule, because no one really cares. You're seeing horses that are dragged out the previous start and then straight to the front winning and don't even get asked the question. So what's the point? Even if they do, they always sort of accept their explanation and move on. It doesn't really matter. So, it just adds further confusion to a punter trying to work it all out, I think. So winner's gone too quick. Sort of tries to back it off here. Second horse has done all the chasing, so his effort's good. He was very unlucky at Hawkesbury last start. He's going really well, this Gulf of Mexico. Perfect play is 1 out, 2 back. It's in the, what are they called? First light, are they colours? Just checking off heels a touch here. It certainly had its chance, found the absolute perfect spot. Strathray's got back. I think it's this one coming wide, or is it this one coming under them? I'm not sure. I think it's the one coming through, so that actually is interesting. It was in that same spot again. So the sweet spot that we're kind of looking for. 3 back the inside, if that's it there, is it?
It is by the look of it. Jinger's Prestige, fourth.
So another winner that was, you said 11 or 10?
Fifth perfect play. Further back to Straftay.
It is. So it's this horse here on the inside.
They work down the back of the course.
Had the perfect run, gets the absolute dream run through on the bend.
With a rouse hugging ride, although comes off the fence now and brushed with full field as they turn. Vega Magnifico in front. Carmaguay shoving its way off the fence from Gulf of Mexico. Perfect play starting to wind up nicely. And further back to Carrera. It's Vega Magnifico being tackled by Straftay, Gulf of Mexico. Perfect play's gone one pace now as Straftay hits the lead. And Straftay shot clear inside the 100 metres. This is a big win coming up for the former.
Gee, it's a dominant win, that. Again, pricks its ears late. Switches off, changes the leg, has been a bit of a play. So, whilst it's had an absolute dream run, time's good. Visually does everything really nicely. Sort of gets through its gears nicely. I thought this run's pretty good too. Gulf of Mexico. Wish it didn't kick back and run second. Would have loved it to run fourth. It was probably a decent target next time out. Principessa was backing on the inside, had the nice run. It'll probably be ready next time, but again, it's had a perfect dream run there. Went too quick on this horse, but still a little bit disappointing. I think Vega Magnifico, I thought its run first up was really good. And then last time, jury's out a little bit, wanted to see more from it. And even though they've ridden it upside down and gone a bit fast, still a bit plain. Kurida's had to come around them, but still a little bit plain as well. So the winner looks a horse that should just... Dangerous horse, because these Waller horses will drive you crazy. They mix their form. But from what we've seen there, you know, first up clean out run where it ran very well against the pattern. And then there, like you can see, it's just got reserves of energy left, it looks like. Beaten a bit of a clump, and I don't think the race itself's super exciting, but this horse definitely looks to have good upside. Big, long in front, raw looking thing that looks like it'll keep developing. Looks a perfect horse for Waller to get hold of. I reckon French-bred horses are easier for a jockey to get their legs around and ride. They always look so narrow-chested to me when I see them in person in yards. That's interesting. I don't disagree with you, as in they're like, what are you going to call them, staying types? They're sort of leaner things. It's interesting what you say, sort of getting their legs around them and then narrow. Interesting. I like the rule, like pre-racing view, where we'll... I like the rule if it was enforced, because you want it one way or the other. You want them to be either enforced or... Because the natural thing is... So I'll show... I'm going to sidetrack here. On Thursday. So this is Titanium Miss. First start in a race, right?
Stand by for a start. Race number 4 here at Hawkesbury.
I think it's this horse here in the yellow with the black, purple. So doesn't jump great, but doesn't jump poorly. And you can see straight away, looking over the shoulder, looking for cover, ends up back here. So it ends up last. So here it is here last. No change of tactics. Second start in a race at Wyong. Similar draw.
260 about him. Red lights are on. Stand by. They're off.
So obviously jumps quite well, but the intent's there to push forward. Like straight away, scrubbed out of the draw gate, and with intent to sort of roll forward and cross. Not even ask the question. Nothing. And I think it's very easy to explain this one. It's a horse that's slightly raced. You go, oh, you know, we didn't just jump so well. We just decided to go forward. There's clear that there's a difference of intention, but you've got to ask the question. So it's, you know, from me looking at it, you go, if Tracy Bartley goes, change the tactics, intent to be ridden more forward, this horse is an automatic bet on the day. And when you don't get that, you're like, whoa, if they go back, it's in a lot of trouble. It's hard to run on from back in the field this day. You know, if he's going to give it another run and try and find something later for it, it was a big sort of indicator. And then not to ask the question just seems silly. Yeah, that's it. But he wasn't even asked, you know. It wins and wins well. He actually nearly fell asleep on it and got it beat because he went too slow in front. But it's one of the better rides I've seen for Louise Day in the race. You just want consistency of approach from the stewards. All right, Captain Furai, just a real professional, this horse. He's definitely been a horse of, one of the ugly winter. Has thrown up like a really consistent horse of the future to some degree. 3-year-old, so rising 4. He'd only had one set of trials, scratched a couple of times in another trial before Christmas, came back in, one trial in March, again scratched, and then straight to the races. And he's put in really, 4 professional wins. Franz Joseph obviously comes out and wins again after he beat him last start. Or Franz Joseph beat Captain Furai. Again, he's had every chance, but he's that really bomb-proof sort of horse. This horse definitely can progress to better races next time in, considering, he's only seen one dry track and then 3 heavy track runs. So we really don't know what the ceiling is to this horse. 1250, 1300, 1500, back to 1400. I wouldn't be surprised to certainly see him get out over a mile or something next prep, but he jumps quite well. And he's forced to work a little bit in the run here, actually more than I thought. So his win's actually better than what I thought it was. Josh actually half calves him, so he's gone forward, back, and then tried to slot in and doesn't get there. So this win's actually better than what I thought it was. The tempo's quick, fast. Time overall is pretty good. So, yeah, really good performance. You'd think he's coming towards the end of it.
With Captain Furai parked up on the outside of Run with the Tide, so the favourite 3 wide, tenderised charges to 4th. How dare you caught a bit deep on the outside.
So Josh was dead set, tried to reverse park it there and grab the 1-1 and then had no chance of doing that. So he's been caught wide throughout. They've had to use him up early where they were going quite quick. And now he's sort of fighting the rider and, not one of Josh's prettiest rides, that's for sure. So adds merit to the win, especially when we consider that Rails in Run was certainly an advantage for the day. Second horse comes from last. Third horse comes from third last. Little Cointreau, and tenderises in the right part of the track there behind the leader. So, this guy's definitely a horse of the future, I think. Real bomb-proof type. Has that nice turn of foot. And, we've seen it on dry and obviously heavy. So, he's one of the finds of the winter, I think, from the Waller camp.
How dare you try to respond to pressure? True Crime at the 250 coming.
It didn't look a great race on paper, but they were sort of tough nuts. You would call them, like horses that had a bit of seasoning to them in comparison to Captain Furai. And he's quite strong through the line, so they've come home pace assisted the horse, 2 horses down the outside, but in slightly inferior ground. Their efforts are not bad. Tenderize is probably the weakest one, and even Tiger Town I thought was entitled to go better back in distance. Already gone for a spell. Beautiful. Random question. Do you think last-minute farrier work or vet exams throws a horse off before a race? It's definitely not a positive. I've seen sort of numbers, like Paul, there'd be people with significant databases that would have clearer picture on it, but I definitely don't see it as a positive. There's obviously different degrees of what work they've had done too, and how quick it sort of is done, where they've got to, sometimes they race without, they take the shoes off, remove them completely and let them race. Sometimes they replate them. Sometimes they've shifted them and you don't really know whether it's done damage or not till after the race. So it's very hard to calculate, but I would say across the board it's a negative for sure. For sure. Yeah, Silvanito is being threatening to do something. Just a bit of a hard horse to catch, I think, because I think this is his grade. I don't think he's going to progress much more than this Silvanito, and this is what I find with a lot of these graded races at the moment. You've really got to be patient and find your sort of Captain Furais more, because otherwise it's just these sort of horses running against each other and over again. And I'm probably being harsh because sort of Little Cointreau and Silvanito are not that heavily raced, especially for the new stable. But a lot of these horses are sort of trapped in this grade. And at the moment, especially with the way the tracks are and everything, it's so hard to sort them out because, you know, lanes and that sort of thing are having such a big effect on the results because there's not a big difference in their ability, you know, and that's why it's good to sort of have a horse like Captain Furai here who just had a bit on them and was able to, you know, overcome a tough run in transit, still win. They're the sort of opportunities you're looking for at the moment. Primo looks like it's just, it didn't come out of the gates, looked like it never went a yard. It's a better horse than that, but that's 2 failures in a row for it. Run with the Tide looks like it's Cactus for me. It doesn't look like it's the same horse that we saw last prep, not going anywhere near as good. So the race overall was okay. I'd be neutral to positive about the 2 that closed down the outside in Silvanito and Little Cointreau, and certainly taking this horse seriously next time in. I don't think there's a race really around for Tender Eyes. He's very hard fit, had the right run there. And True Crime, I think, not at his best either. It's a bit of a weird little race. Another change of tactics here. Amati given the big push out of the gates. I don't know if there was a change of tactics. They haven't listed in there. Tactics notified Graceful Artist intention to be ridden further forward. Demi Arna to be ridden more conservatively in midfield. See, I didn't see that. Another miss from not being here. In Flight to be ridden more forward. So that would have actually given me a clearer picture of this race. I actually thought that they would be more positive with Demiana from the wide draw. The way the track looked like it was racing, it looked difficult to sort of come back from back and wide by this stage. And the stablemate was quite a good run first up. Probably should have gotten closer to Demiana. So it doesn't make sense. Obviously, it's beaten 20 lengths to Demiana. Doesn't make sense the 380 versus 750 SP off their last runs with the change of tactics to be ridden more conservatively. But it's obviously easy to say that. Left Field was ridden more positively here. Another change of tactics. It's a change of tactic-a-thon. The leader was interesting. Ha, 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 ha. It's a first start for the Waterhouse stable. Probably should have a look at the tempo. So tempo, really controlled tempo here. Nearly too slow. So nearly too slow from the leader. Went about 5 lengths below to the 800, 8 lengths below to the 6. So really control probably for too long. Then they come home about 5 above. And the winner sort of kicks in late on that inside section. Never really looked like it was going to be dominant and then ends up winning quite dominantly. So I'm not sure what to make of Left Field's run. Maybe it doesn't run 1300 out. Certainly had its chance. This is Left Field on the outside of Amati, who ridden closer. A winner, second, third. Miss Jennifer, who's back on the inside, is it? Where's Miss Jennifer? Is this Miss Jennifer? Different colours. I thought it was wearing pink colours last time I saw it. So this must be Miss Jennifer here. So rails, 1, 2, 4. Dazzling Lucy, outside leader. And Left Field runs 5th from that position. And Demiana doesn't finish the course. Sorry, I've just seen Laney's thing there. You've got to remember some of these European types coming out of a different season. They are, and it's hard to know how long they've been here and all sorts. It's not easy. They look like they're going quicker than they did here. You can see sort of his prick leaders bowling along at its own leisure. Left Field sort of off the bit here, doesn't travel as well as it does back in the field. And they're not going that fast. They are quickening up by this stage, but yeah, never really travelled like it handled the conditions that well, Left Field. Marty's on the bit and travelling, but sort of gone slow, as you sort of said. Still expected Left Field to finish off better from this spot, and that's Miss Jennifer coming around it and finishing off well. So, yeah, it was good, strong win, returned really well, in great form, obviously handling these tracks. It's got mile form, and that was only 1,300 metres second up. So it's got a lot of scope to keep going forward. Good run from Ha 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 first up. You know, a horse that still ran the second fastest last 200 of the day, has it? So, and that's off a controlled speed, so that's expected. But what I'm sort of saying is maybe it was just a little bit pace affected, a little bit quicker next time out, and it can run well. Dazzling Lucy outside leader, okay, and Miss Jennifer sort of 3 back the inside, try to come around him. It's probably the disappointing horse of the race again with Demiana, who didn't finish the course. What did they say about it? Any reason? Began awkwardly from a wide draw. He hoped to obtain a midfield position. He was blah, 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 blah. Would not respond. However, near the 300, the mare blundered in the going from that point. Did not feel comfortable in the heady track. He said he failed to respond to riding after that point. Post-race veterinary revealed Demiana to be coughing. So a forgive for it. Sort of puts a few question marks over the race. They haven't run a fast overall time, but that's off a really slow tempo with, the best sections, late sections of the day. So I'm not going to say it's a bad race. I'm going to sort of stay very neutral on this one. Just say that Amati's going very well. A pass mark at least for first up for Waterhouse. Dazzling Lucy was okay, but I think had its chance even though it was outside the leader. Miss Jennifer going really well, and he's probably eligible for easier races than this being a country horse. Whether it's sort of outgraded those or not, I'm not sure. And left field, I think, just needs to be sort of ridden back off a fast tempo over shorter. Demiana's a complete nightmare. I know a new challenge you can do, bet into 180% markets and try and turn a profit. Well, it doesn't, like, the market's not the problem. Getting on's the problem. If you gave me, like, if the tab put up 180 and you can bet on their first markets, I'd be surprised if you didn't win. Problem is you can't bet. You can't take advantage of the mistakes they make, no matter what the percentage is anyway. All right, this is the 1100. This is not a bad race. I thought Hanau tried up really well first, but prior to this is being first up. I thought Wild Botanica was really well placed, and when it went forward, I actually thought it would get home. One Destiny, very, very fit horse, handles all conditions, super honest, in flight through that inside gate. It was second up off a heavy track, really heavy track first up run, which I never really love. It did find the right draw here, obviously. A Cinematic Star, Passaggiata. Passaggiata's Passaggiata. I think people will be starting to get frustrated with Passaggiata. I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't have too many more starts, to be honest. 4-year-old mare. I don't think they're going to sell it. I'll probably just retire it. Or, put it away and wait. Try and bring it back on firmer tracks, maybe. So here, pretty even tempo. Overall time's good. They just run just slightly above throughout. So to the 8, they quicken to the 6, and they quicken from there. So, yeah, a decent race for sure. This horse is a pretty good horse in flight.
Leg 1 of the quaddie at Rosehill.
See you, Laney.
Racing. Jumping sharply, Passaggiata as expected. Wild Botanica going forward out wide from in flight, and One Destiny surging through. They're followed by Stupendo.
I think most runners get their chance here. Leader certainly did. Gets a little bit keen, but that's the horse. One Destiny, perfect run, 1-1. In flight behind leader, absolute perfect run. Hanau's sort of back in the middle here in the most awkward spot. It's a horse I'd be keeping an eye on. I wouldn't be surprised if, James gave it the old 30 days, 28 days between runs with the trial in between.
Now and wider out there. Down the side of the course, Stupendo, and 2 lengths away to Serena Sophia. It's Passaggiata being cuddled coming to the turn by 3/4 Wild Botanica. Then in flight, One Destiny. And now is going through the middle of the ruck as they straighten up, and Wild Botanica really pouring on the pressure now to Passaggiata. Wild Botanica.
It's hard to make too many excuses for any of these runners, apart from Stupendo, who sort of sat wide throughout.
Away from Passaggiata. 2 lengths in front from One Destiny.
Like watching it, I actually thought that it was sort of going as good as anything. The leader doesn't find a lot, which is not a great sign. Maybe it needs to go back on firmer ground because it's a really tough horse. It doesn't really give up, but just an effort. The winner never really travels for mine either, so I don't think it's really loving the conditions. But once it gets back to that inside section, last 200 metres, like we've seen a few of them, it just sort of found a bit of overdrive. Second horse went as good as it possibly can. And Hanau, I think, was, at least a pass mark first up on that sort of track. Cinematic Star, much fitter horse. and it's done a good job. So I think the gap behind now, not significant, but I think it's probably a horse that may be interesting second up. Probably, yeah, like we said, sort of love to see 3 to 4 weeks between runs with a clean out trial, and I think she could run really well. Or he, 3-year-old gelding. Yeah, frustrating horse. Got very keen in the run, never in the right spot. Tried to come around him. I wouldn't be too hesitant. I wouldn't be too critical of the run of Tsarina Sofia. Trial before she ran first up was just really good. I didn't think she was that well placed first up, and then again, sort of forgive, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it ended up north. All right, that's that race. Here was Old Sir Lucan. We were balls deep on it last week when Rachel set the world on fire again in front on it and went too fast. And then today, Hippo sort of rides it off another fast speed, going from off a fast tempo, 2,000 up to 2,400, and he hits the line really well. So frustrating horse, Sir Lucan. Certainly looks a better horse with a little bit of cover. He has won before leading all the way for Nash, but that was off a slow tempo on a good track or just a softish track at Randwick one day with the rail out. So that's his only second win since he's been here. And yeah, like it certainly 2,400 looks a positive for him as well. The race overall, as you said, the time's good. The second horse has gone okay. Yeah, it was just a pretty poxy looking race. The winner was super soft in betting, which is frustrating as well because it got out to a bit of a silly price late. I think it SP'd sort of $6-7. So anyone who was forgiving of the start the week before against its stablemate Elias got rewarded. I thought it was interesting. I actually thought he'd roll forward for sure, and you can see that Hippo's looking for cover basically from the start. And he does a good job to sort of slot across and then end up in that sweet spot, sort of 4 or 5 lengths off the lead. So he ends up in a good position. Hopeful ends up on his back. I had a heart attack. Not that I backed it at all, but I was wondering what the heck he was doing when he let Hopeful come around him. But he actually sort of stayed closer to the inside, which is a positive on this day. He actually gave it a perfect ride as it turned out. Probably Hippo with a bit of luck. It's just once you get to this spot, especially in 2,400 metre races, you think it's all about momentum. So you expect him to sort of come around Torrens here, and especially with a favourite on his back, whether he's aware of that or not. And he rides it up into the gap here. Ballsy ride, I thought. But sort of the gap opens up in time, and that inside section was probably a little bit better ground. So yeah, you could probably argue for or against whether it was a good ride or not. But either way, the horse just way too strong. I'm not a big fan of Gantaran, Bonnie Ezra, Mount Popper, any of these horses, so I'm not sure how deep this form is. But his run, 2 starts back was huge. And then this win's obviously full of merit, very strong, time's good, hopeful every chance this time, whereas last time he beat up Sir Lucan and looked unlucky. I think that was the real Sir Lucan. He's going to be hard to beat in anything like this if there's another similar sort of race over the next few weeks, similar conditions. Who cares, really? Yeah, Cinematic Star is not a bad horse. Actually, a very underrated horse, Cinematic Star. Sorry, I missed that. A little extra work at the start cost Botanica in the end. I don't disagree with that. I don't think it's a wet tracker either. Wild Botanica, sorry, I missed those. We'll keep jetting through these. So controlled tempo here, really control the race. Franz Joseph gets the better of him late. Progressive horse, again, similar to Captain Furai early in the day. Even though this is not his first prep, it's just these sort of horses are probably the ones you need to try and find and latch onto at this time of year just because they have that little bit of upside. I'm not too excited about taking even money. I certainly didn't here. But again, just these sort of horses just tend to, when you look back on things, they're the ones that get home. They're the ones that can overcome a little bit of adversity, tempo, whatever it is, and sort of get the job done. Not more often than not, in comparison to when you look back on other races and they just look a bit hard to work out what happened at this time of year with these sorts of tracks. So controlled speed, some, I think, huge forgive runs in the back here, sort of presser. Alapicanto, Gracie Styler, the dramatist has beaten a long way. They had no chance back in the field at all. Who's that? Is that Tara Shock? So Tara Shoot looks like it's run a couple of really good sections as well. It'll be interesting to look at. Nails Murphy's run the second fastest last 800 of the day, running fourth. So really slow, controlled speed, on speed horses. Suited. I was watching this race, thought that Amy McLucas did way too much on I'm In to Win, but you know, I was probably wrong because it looks like the tempo is nowhere near as strong as what I thought it was. Probably want to put the right race on. That'll make it easier to make judgment. But yeah, watching it live, I thought they were going quicker than they needed to. I thought she didn't really need to fight for the lead early. She should have just let Danish Prince go. And that's because I'm In to Win was first up on this sort of surface. I thought she sort of uses the horse up too early here. Like, could have let Danish Prince go, cruised up, set outside leader, and controlled the speed. And she doesn't do that. Eventually, sort of lets the eventual leader go. And Danish Prince pops off, sits outside, and then she's first to go outside the leader as well. So to me, it looked like they were going a lot faster here than what the sectionals support. They obviously drop anchor pretty hard from this position. And now sort of outside leader, a bit keen, being first up again. I thought it was a pretty average ride, but it's not as bad as I thought, that's for sure. And a really good run first up, which is the same as what it produced last time. So whether that flattens it, you'd love again the old James Cummings 4 weeks between runs. So this is where I was like, what are you doing? You know, you're getting keen and turning it into a race at the 800 metre mark on a horse that's first up. But Franz Joseph's had the absolute perfect run right behind them. Never really looked the winner to me. I thought he was struggling to sort of reel them in. I thought the leaders were going to kick and hold on. And eventually he's just too strong for them late. But I think he's a wide draw horse, Franz Joseph. I don't think he's a gate one horse. And whilst it's worked out this way, I think he's going to be a horse that loves sort of dictating his own tempo, getting up on speed from wider draws. So I think he had a few things against here and can improve off it. But, you know, he got 7 points ratings-wise off the back of this. I don't really understand it. A race that's not run any sort of exciting time or anything like that. You know, the leaders have controlled. He's got over the end of him late. He's not dominant. To get 3.5 kilo penalty next time he runs out is pretty aggressive, I would have thought. Remember watching, Nails Murphy was the horse, what it run the second fastest last 800 of the day to run fourth, but was sort of okay, like he was in the right spot too, right? Not rails in run, but close enough to it. And he's a bit of that sort of horse, so I'm a bit worried about that for Nails Murphy, that he's a bit of a pack chaser, but he looked good that last 100. He looked pace affected, if anything. Watch Franz Joseph trials before he debut. Great move. I love the way he moves legs. Yeah, I agree with that. Big striding, you know, sort of loping, sort of a little bit like Know Thyself earlier in the day. Takes a long time to get through his gears, but continually does and finds the line. You like horses like that they're sort of flowing actions that they can travel at higher speeds than this, I think, comfortably and sort of take the sprint out of the ones behind them and slowly go through gears and continue to sort of pour pressure on. I like those sorts of horses as well. They just need to be ridden well. They need to be matched up with riders that suit them, I think. Lucky Last, softish tempo overall. It's just an even tempo, but softish sections the whole way. Nothing too poor, only sort of run a length below. Good ride again from the young apprentice Chelsea Hillier. She's done a great job with this horse. Whilst it's obviously, you know, in the zone and racing well, she's done everything right on this horse every time she's sat on it. So nothing more you could ask from her. Horse is flying. Sectionally, I don't think it was too strong a race. I think there was some horses that were probably disappointing here. Abel Willie out the back, Cool Jack. Jakey out the back, Step Aside, who trialled really well, gets beat 8 lengths. I think a lot went right for this horse here. Testator's Islands was jumping in distance, had trialled okay since the first up run. But again, a little bit against and was going to have to come round them. Ang Power as well. Sir Ravenelli, Digger and whatever. I actually haven't watched this race too closely, but I get the feeling watching it the first time that everything that could go right did go right for Elson's Boy. But that is a product of its racing style as well, right?
Really standing out now. Often racing, Sir Ravenelli was last out of the gates, and Elson Boy charges to the early lead.
That early speed and the way he's able to control, tempo and whatever is just a great attribute. It was interesting to see Testator Silence put up on speed. They tend to have been pretty neutral on the horse early, especially when the earmuffs are on. What happened to step aside at the start? Sorry. So he jumped well, just took quite a while to cross. Sir Ravenelli was slow out, ends up back on the inside.
Out by a length and a half to Baroque Road on the outside of Testator Lens. Then came Ung Pao up on the outside of the favourite Step Aside. Two off to Abel Willie. Then came Peace Officer, Sir Ravenelli, Cool Jakey. Last of all is Sandpaper. Over 500 metres to go. Elson Boy shooting for 6 in a row today. Leads from Baroque Road. Ung Pao moves up 3 wide, followed by Testator Lens being shoved along. And Step Aside 2 lengths away in 5th. Elson Boy into the straight, 300 metres to go. Chelsea Hillier said, "What you got, boy?" Elson Boy still 2 in front. Ung Pao's the margin abbreviator on the outside.
So yeah, bit of a nothing race really. Sir Ravenelli was slow out, but pretty much runs okay, but no huge excuses. Testator Silence was really good. I think he's ready to win now. I'd say he's the one I want to follow out of the race. Who's jumping in trip and off a second up off a synthetic trial. In between, I think, draws the gate 1,1400 next time out. It'll be hard to beat. Testator Silence. No knock on Ang Pao at all. Step Aside was only first up, so you have to be forgiving there. Nice margins open up again. The time overall's nothing special, but no knock on the winner. Everything that could go right has gone right. The pattern, place it was in the run, tempo, everything's gone perfect for it. Good ride on Testator Silence. Just, I think, not really ideally set up and suited. It's run well. Ang Pao's run well. That's Rosehill. Yeah, isn't it amazing? Like the only thing this horse didn't do this preparation was win the country championships, and that was like. So how many has it won this prep? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's won 8 races this prep. Imagine if you said a horse is going to win 8 races this prep and not win the country championships. It's a decent effort, but I think what did it have a setback, didn't it? After that, so it was 42 days into the Narromine. What happened? It was scratched, wasn't it? It didn't run in the final, so it won the heat, and then something happened to it, and it couldn't run in the final. And then it's won sort of 3 in a row. So you feel 4 in a row since. You feel a little bit sick for Dar that it didn't make that final, but obviously rewarded with winning the last 2 starts, $160,000 races. So pretty good. What level can the winner get to, John? Are we talking about Elson Boy? Sorry if I've missed that. Or are you talking about Daniel about Franz Joseph? I don't think Elson Boy can get much higher in grade. It'll probably chip away and, it'll be eligible for an 80 or something now and go there or an 88 or whatever it is. Franz Joseph's got more upside, but he probably hasn't been as dominant as I thought he'd be. You want to see him back on a dry track and sort of dominating. If he runs a mile, he's dangerous. Autumn Sums crop still shit. How about that? So I didn't even know that. Is that true? Mark Newnham had it, did he? I don't remember this horse being with Mark Newnham. Glad he did, though. I'd rather see a horse like this end up in country horses by El Rocker. I normally put all the El Rockers out of my mind. Mark Newnham to Darlun. Looks like it never even trialled for Newnham. So they must have thought it was pretty slow. 7th of 9 trial behind Sizzle Manizzle. Wow. And you say Acapella Sun. It was 14s out 60s, got beat 9 on debut. Didn't win a race until 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 runs into its second preparation. So it didn't break its maiden until its 10th start. And it's now 22 for 9. Crazy, huh? American Pharaoh's definitely been disappointed. All right, I'll have a quick look at these Queensland races as well. Any races to look at? Obviously, I'll look at the last couple. Race 1 was interesting, as in Freedom Rally was heavily fancied. I actually thought it was going to run 27th at about the 400 metre mark, so I'll just look at the... They put a bit of sting into this race early. They took off nice and early. Tim sort of looked like he controlled. I actually thought he went a lot slower. Well, he didn't. So he's gone, only a length above to the 800. Then he's quickened right up between the 8 and the 6. So maybe he just went a tiny bit early. I can see what he was trying to do. He's trying to drag the sprint out of Freedom Rally. He would have been well aware that it was right up his arse after he'd ridden it previously and, didn't want that horse to just sort of sit and wait and just go past him. So he probably went out with a plan to ramp it up a little bit early if he got control, which it looked like he did. And, just found wanting a little bit late. I thought Freedom Rally was in a world of pain here, to be honest. I thought the winner was probably looked home. Doesn't quicken like he does over those shorter trips. Freedom Rally ridden up close to the speed over this distance. Looked like sort of Coast Watch was going to swallow him up. And the winner does look all but home. Just a little bit too strong late. Just a good horse. Second horse is going really well. Third horse going really well. I think that race will be okay over the carnival. We ran 4th, Cotty up the inside. Charterhouse ran 5th. New Mandate first up. Poison Chalice failed. Race 2 was a bit of a nothing race. They absolutely walked. Peril was unlucky. A length between 10 of them. I don't think that one's even worth looking at. This was a huge win. Huge go and huge win. I was filthy doing my silly looking little birdie thing. This is probably not my best bet of the day, but when it was sort of double figures, I think it was $10, $12 early on sort of Wednesday, Thursday, and it just looked a silly price, thinking if it gets across, it's going to be really hard to beat. There was a couple other horses in the race coming out of different form lines. This had the Mr. Artemisia, who was the other horse? Mr. Artemisia Smashing Time form lines. It was $9 into $6.50 versus Broadside in 2 starts ago, or last start. And had to work in the run there, sat outside leader. So it was just silly when it was double figures in this race, but the win was huge.
Stand by.
And the time suggests like they've gone quick again, and it's worked hard all the way. This is it out here. Geez, it was well back.
Further back is Silver and Suave going forward ahead of Astra Star. Next goes Star Hard and further.
So it doesn't get across. You can see James is keen to get it over. Doesn't get across. Tries to slot in. Gets a bit of cover for a little bit, but I still think it's sort of 5 wide, no cover there from what I can see. Now it is definitely 6 wide, so now he's had to been forced to go early. Again, they've worked hard the whole way. Cruise is up to him to a certain degree, still travelling. But Embassy's had the best run you've ever seen in your life back towards the inside here. And he's going to go past it for sure, and this horse has got the balls to sort of just keep chipping away. I think it's a horse that could certainly make a good grade next time in. Probably runs a race in the J.J. Atkins or even on the line. It's not weak. Heck of a win. Time's not great, nothing like that, but it's just the style of the win considering everything it's had to do in the run. It's the only horse you'd probably want to get too excited about going forward. This horse is interesting. It's got depth of character, but it was pace assisted here and was back, and it doesn't jump great. It's a bit of a nightmare to follow, but it's got an engine. If it improves its manners and if they tinker around with gear and things like that, it's got a good engine. This horse, depth of character, 8 fastest last 200 of the day. There's a sneaky run back in the field from a horse called Territory Ash. This horse, it sort of finished off, didn't have a lot go right in the run. In the blinkers, the grey down the outside here, it hit the line okay. Probably worth keeping an eye on. Next time out, Territory Ash. Was it the only one from the broadsiding race? I think it was. Tina was coming from Sydney. Don't forget Jack was coming from here. He was coming from Melbourne. Astapor was coming from Arabian Summers race. Embassy definitely was coming up in distance, so it wasn't coming from that. It was coming from the Arabian Summer race. Yeah, it looks like it was the only one. Oh, Territory Ash as well. So that's interesting. It was a 200 to 1 chance in that race, and it ran well as well. You know, it was 150 to 1 in this race, and it ran a good race. So the broadsiding race was both those runners. And also it's heavily impact as well, but it was at 150 to 1 in that race as well. Probably ran better than markets suggested here. Yeah, I agree. So the next prep, Territory Ash. Bases loaded, just had full control of Allegra. I'm not going to watch it. Horrible, 12 lengths below standard, no merit in the first 800 to the 600 or home. It's a really poor race. Shins obviously tried to ride for luck a bit on the bend on mostly cloudy, a bit unlucky. It's just a nothing race. I don't know what it feeds. It's just horrible, horrible Group 2. Bases loaded, leads all the way, gifted the race basically, didn't really do a lot coming home. It was a nothing race. We'll have a look at the J. Jackins. Another race where they've just walked. There's a bit more merit in the time home here, and obviously the winner, but really only in the winner.
And the light turned on.
The horse I mucked around with some doubles into Mr. Artemisia, the place when it was sort of $4 plus, and thought it was the clear danger. It jumps here. It just gets absolutely poleaxed, as does Smashing Time, I think. It gets checked onto Mr. Artemisia, and it gets basically deleted out of the race early. He's sort of hoping it would stick to the backside of broadsiding or even inside it and get a really conservative run in transit. That was gone after 50 metres. James just pokes along there, holds a spot. You know, it's the only horse you want to be in. This is Mr. Artemisia here again. Gets poleaxed again here and nearly gets put through the fence when... what's the other horse in the race called? When Bitter Creek comes along and squishes Smashing Time to the fence and poleaxes Mr. Artemisia again, sort of gets keen as well, slow tempo. So, moral of the story, I'd be forgiving of both these horses. I think Smashing Time next prep can certainly make a liar of most of its form. It was a really good run behind Megastar Hard at the Kensington track. Half a forgive last start. I think it sort of got to 1400. I think it was cooked by the time it got to Queensland, this horse Smashing Time. So I think next prep it can definitely be very, very interesting horse, especially early in its preparations, as long as it doesn't aim up at, you know, Rung to the Roses and races like that. If it finds the right race first up, I think it's a horse that could be dominant. And Mr. Artemisia can certainly improve next preparation. Poor old Elmore Zillow, keen, right behind the slow tempo. He's done a great job this prep.
Broadsiding fifth, about 3 or 4 lengths off the leader. Next a lot of time, Elmore's comes, broadsiding, chiming in. Bazusto's making some ground.
I don't know what the heck this horse is, can't recall one, whether it wants another lap or what, I'm not sure. But there's something about this horse that he's got a bit of X factor.
It's all broadsiding. Bazusto trying hard. Elmore's yellow.
Winner's a rocket, there's no doubt. I love James standing up and starting to salute at the 200 metre mark, probably at the 100 metre mark. Pretty funny. But what's it beaten? You know, Elmore Zillow's completely beaten up. I don't think this horse is any star. Bitter Creek. I think a lot of the horses were prepped, as in Cactus, by the time they got here. The others are just sort of just horses. You know, you can only beat what you put in front of you, and this horse has had a long, sustained prep as well. People talking about Cox plates and things like that, I just be careful. Obviously, I don't think too many people are diving into $8 or $6 or whatever the heck it is now for Cox plates, but you just got to be wary that this horse has had such a long prep. It's very strange. We talked about it a few weeks ago that the reason why they've stuck around and aimed up at this race is because of the leading first season sire situation with the Darley Stallion in Too Darn Hot. So it's very abnormal for a horse to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 runs its first prep from the Godolphin team. You know, he's put away 2 Group 1s in his first prep. Obviously a really talented horse. But what will they do with him next prep? Will they back off him? Will they let him have a really good break? Will they just target maybe a Golden Rose and then put him away? He obviously looks more effective the further he gets up in distance. Maybe he is a Cox Plate horse, and maybe he's a complete freak, and he'll just have a flawless prep and get through to a Cox Plate. But 7 runs first prep, I'd be thinking they're going to be very careful with this horse next time. They'll want to give him a good break now and let him freshen right up. Can't recall one of Bo Dazzler. Yeah, so can't recall ones. Barbaric Lads ran a fast, sort of a couple of sections in there too. None of them ran a really fast last 200. They'd sort of spent all their pennies because they took off from the 800. A lot of them had sort of cactus late. Even the winner was significantly slowed down the last 200, but ran the fastest last 600 of the day. So he's a quality horse. Yeah, you'd love to be James McDonald. Apart from Pride of Jenny, he's going to have a choice of quite a few good horses heading to a race like this, right? Dane Ripper was controlled on speed. Same Magic sat outside the leader first run for Waller and got away with the race. Osbred Flirt was a really good run. I don't think it was too exciting going forward. It was one of those mares races where positioning run was really important just due to the tempo. They sort of take turns a little bit, but the winner was good. Certainly Waller's done a good job. Osbred Flirt, great. The Abounding Gennady had really perfect runs in transit. I didn't think there was anything too exciting there. Curvelant probably can improve again off that. If it sort of draws a gate and can race a little bit closer. Let's watch the Stradbroke. So Stradbroke was a fast tempo, not super fast, above average to the 8. They quickened to the 6 and home slightly below standard or for the grade. The last 600. Win is actually a really good win. It was a good ride. It wasn't the best ride I've ever seen in my life or anything like that. 50.5. It sustained the sprint probably better than I thought it could. What do you say about this race? Was it disappointing from a Stradbroke field perspective? Probably. You got 2 horses that I still think are queries at a strong 1,400 metres running 1-2, which is not normal for a Stradbroke. Volana had its chance. Magic Time, obviously something wrong with it. It sort of loomed up to do something and she'd had enough.
All in.
Now, the winner's probably the story of the race because she's got upside still and she's reasonably lightly raced. So he draws wide. This is Steffi Magnetica out here and ends up coming up the inside. So it is a good ride, don't get me wrong. Bella Nipotina heads forward and Zach Lloyd sort of heads back. And he does a good job to sort of carve across and slot in. Bella Nipotina gets a decent enough run, sort of 3 wide with cover. Amenable was forced to race wide and covered ground. I thought it stuck on really well, just didn't have that luck early, but still had to be used up. Gets in eventually. Yeah, Bella Nipotina probably gets the best run she could have hoped for from the draw. No excuses for her. Another really gallant performance. This is still Steffi sort of back that extra 3 lengths. So she's a good effort considering what have you got? Winner's here, back here. Bella Nipotina's second. Volana third. The Inevitable, where is it? It must be back as well. So it's just in front of Steffi Magnetica, isn't it? I think this is the Inevitable here. So the sweet spot sort of was midfield by the look of it. Volana looks the winner here, doesn't it? He looks like he's going to camp up to him and put him away. Amenable, good again. The Magic Time presents to do something there and then gets beat 10. She's got that great turn of foot. Really easy to like, the horse, Steffi Magnetica. Her manners are certainly improved. There's more races in her. There's not too many hard luck stories. It just was a bit of a nothing race. That was the problem. Like Here to Shock, Prince of Broom, Mighty Silesius, Magic Time obviously failed. Stapati raced up close and didn't finish off. Antino missed the kick and then ends up on the inside. Roll on high. Samana was first up and they went back. I couldn't believe that, but whatever. You know, they had to go one way, forward or back. And then you sort of had the bunch of these sort of horses. You know, Benedetta, Nugget, Osipenko, Amenable had to do a little bit of work, but yeah, it was just a bit of a nothing Stradbroke, but the winner was good. You know, the winner was good. The ride was pretty good from where he was. He did as good a job as probably he could from the gate. So it was a great ride. Craig Williams gave Bella Nipotina a great ride. She ran extremely well. So, you know, whatever it is, what it is. I think the best two horses ran 1-2, and hard to make excuses really for too many back in the pack apart from those that just failed. Yeah, I think that just took care of her, Paul, and whether she was cactus leading into that or not, whether that run on the heavy track in Sydney just flattened her and she wasn't the same horse when she came to Brisbane, or that issue, it was certainly the undoing of her no matter what. Big to Waller is a positive. You'd have to say so for sure. She gets better with age. Bella Fine Wine. What a horse! Like it's a freak. I don't think it's any champion, but you know, taking advantage of what she's got around her at the moment from a depth perspective. Like she had 5 runs in the spring, had a trial in February after going out. So she had a spell, not a strong one. Then comes back and runs in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Group 1s this prep. Moonee Valley, Ramwick, Ascot, Doomben, Eagle Farm, and she's beaten a length, beaten 2 lengths, beaten 2, beaten a quarter of a length, beaten a length, wins in Doomben, and then runs 2 great races back to back, at weight for age and then in a handicap. So, she's an excellent horse. She'll be in the Everest or whatever in the spring, and I'm sure she'll acquit herself well. The last, whatever, it was just a Faulkner. It was a great ride, solid ride, good, strong win. I was dirty on myself here that I handled this poorly. It was sort of stood out like dog's balls. I fell into just from this betting tournament thing I was in, probably assumed the other fella would find this horse and thought, I was trying to sort of bet to win. Handled it poorly, but he's just a bomb-proof sort of horse that's in good form. He's got a nice turn of foot. The draw was certainly the deciding factor to make him the horse to beat in this race, but he's just got that really solid turn of foot. Firm ground suits him, going really well. Great ride from Schiller here. Amakura is probably the horse that's interesting for me going towards, the spring or maybe another run this prep. Just a bit of a punishing horse with this poor racing style. If it draws a gate, maybe it can settle closer. I just think she sort of had everything go wrong that could go wrong here. Amakura, this is her back in the orangey, yellowy colours. Sort of looks a bit of a lopey thing that never really looks flashy, but she just continually finds the line. And she's probably got a race in her here. You can see she just sort of never looks great, but just keeps coming and coming. Knight's Choice going really well. The winner's super dominant. Whether that's him for the prep or he's got another run in him, he'll just continue to do the same thing. He's just in the zone, Faulkner Park. Yeah, the Adelaide horse was just was really disappointing, right? Obviously worked a little bit in the run. Times overall, fastish sort of time to the 800, and they sort of maintained at home. But yeah, you'd have to say it was quite disappointing. Got beat 8.5 lengths. Super solid go betting wise. You could tell that there was a big feel about it. Just had a sort of barrier trial first up, and it was going to improve significantly. And it was basically gone on the bend. So yeah, it was really disappointing. No knock on anything in the race really up towards. I think they've all sort of had their chance and run to their ability, and the winners just going really well. And I think that's as good a track as they can serve up at the moment. I don't think the track was, it's obviously got some decent kickback issues and whatever, but what, it was okay. The track, it was just sort of hard to run on. There was super slow tempos is probably the biggest deciding factor. Like the only races that were run at above average tempos were the last 2, and they weren't. The last wasn't. They've just had full control, the on-speed horses for the most part. So it wasn't really the track that was heavily biased or anything like that. I don't think it was probably more about the rides and positioning run being quite important. What's coming up this week? John, would it be possible to put a date on these reviews? The president just says 3 weeks ago. If you go to Twitter, there's a date. To YouTube, Spider. If you go to YouTube, it records there and it's got the date. I don't know if that helps you or not. I can put them on though if you want. I'll just put it in the title. I've just got to remember to do it. But YouTube, they're categorized. That's what I mean. I normally do, don't I? I'll get onto it. No worries. No. What do we got? Saturday the 22nd of June. Civic Stakes Eyeliner Gay Waterhouse Classic. I'm tipping there's not going to be much to be found here. So a lot of these horses will be dual and triple nom. Gee, straight ace will let deep in its prep. I know I start backing up. Plays a trail. Flying Crazy's going okay. Meadows hard to catch. War Eternal. Geez, there's a lot of horses that are very similar. Nothing exciting for me there. Eyeliner Stakes. So these are basically the same horse that we're just looking at. Abounding. Jesus Christus. Jesus. So Eyeliner Stakes is Ipswich too, right? Always fun, Ipswich. Gay Waterhouse Classic. Tashi. I thought Tashi was spelling. Abounding again with the same horse that we've been looking at. My goodness. Oof. The Carnival drops off quick. Ipswich Cup, Knight's Choice backing up off that run. Surely it wouldn't. Luncey's, God. Zumon's interesting. Frankel, Baby Rider. Oasis. I don't think there's anything worth looking at there. As a for a $7 in the King Stand, are you serious? Yeah, copy paste races. A bit sad, but yeah, the weather's so bad at the moment. Like, it's just up here is probably the shining light. At least the tracks get a chance to dry out because it's a little bit warm or whatever. But Sydney's just doom and gloom for the foreseeable future, unfortunately. But it is what it is. We deal with what gets put in front of us. No American horses there for either. Old mate Bobby Baffett not sending any over. Geez, I remember, what was the horse? Probably, geez, I hate to know how long ago it was. I remember he used to send one over every now and then. Holy crap, he sent one over down the straight. It went into overdrive. It was dead set 1,000-metre race. It was over at the 800. Bobby Baffett. His horses used to run through the brick walls. I don't think they're happy. I don't think they're happy with Franz Joseph's rating, but I think he's sort of a horse they were keen to step through his grades, and it just forces them to skip a grade, doesn't it? Like a bit of a crack. Lady Aurelius. What's happened there? I don't hear that. Why is that not working? Who's Lady Aurelius? Is the spelling different? What's Lady Aurelius? I think we'll see Viper Sestina in the spring. I'd say for sure. Oh no, you're right. That was the name of the horse, Lady Aurelius. Geez, that's a good find. That was dead set the horse. That was dead set the horse. If I look at goddamn Twitter, I wonder if I can find it. This would be funny. No. That was definitely the horse though. Aurelia. Why is Lady Aurelia so short asking for a friend? 2018, so it was 5-6 years ago. 5 or 6 years ago. I used to love it when he sent one over there. Where's Ward? That's who it was. It was Where's Ward. It wasn't like Bobby Baffett, so I've lost the plot. You're right on both counts. All right, guys, I'm Cook, so I'm going to do a runner, but yeah, just keep chipping away with these meetings and do what we can. Try and find a little gap here and there, but yeah, I just think that's finding these horses with a bit of upside through this period is certainly the key, but you just don't seem to get great odds about it and then value around them. Cheers, guys. See you later in the week. Thank you for coming. I'm not a Royal Ascot man. Not these days, Ian. There's just too much racing. I'll watch. I just actually probably it's on so. I used to watch it all. I'm hopeless, but I try and go to sleep now because I'm hopeless. Cheers, guys. What are you prepared to lose today? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.